In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a wooden plank sign with your last name. You can grab a wooden plank from any craft store. I purchased mine from the craft section at Walmart for under $3. You can be really precise when measuring. For this, I just take my wooden plank, place it on top of the vinyl piece that I'd like to use, mark a small little line at the very bottom, and cut that accordingly. You'll also be using contact paper or transfer tape, whichever you prefer. I'll go ahead and place my vinyl on a mat. I'm using this one only because it's a strong grip mat that has lost its tackiness. The look we're trying to achieve for this sign is going to be the last name, the couple's name underneath it, and then a heart with the date of marriage or anniversary or whatever you'd like to put in there sliced out of the heart. I want to show you guys how I make this design from beginning to end. So what I'm going to do is just click on the little eye, which will hide the current design that I have on my design space. So we're going to go over to the left side and hit text, and a box is going to open up, and you're going to go ahead and type in the last name that you'd like to use. For this video, I'm going to use Smith. I'm using all caps, and the font that I'm going to use is Times New Roman. Now that you have your last name, you're going to go ahead and make it to the size of the plank. The plank measures, I think, 12.5 by 5.5, but I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so that everything can fit in proportionately. So I think I'm going to measure it out, I think, to 11 inches in length, give or take a few, and then in height it'll be close to 3 inches. If you want your letters to be a little closer together, just go to the letter space option, click the down arrow, and it'll bring your letters a little close together. I'm going to go ahead and use 0.5 and leave it at that for this sign. You'll need to open another text box and type in the couple's name. For this, I'm just going to use John and Mary. Once you have your names, go ahead and pick a font that you'd like to use. For this example, I'm just going to go ahead and pick a popular font known as I Love Glitter. And then you'll notice that with this font, the letters are kind of far apart. We're going to move them closer together by going over to letter space, not font size, letter space, and bring it down to where you see that they're super close together so that you can weld it. Enlarge your text so that you can see if there's any overlapping before you weld. And when I do that, I can see right now that I have my letters way too close together to where they're overlapping, and I don't like that look. So what I'm going to do is just kind of go back to letter space and take it down a few notches, maybe to 0.6. And as soon as I like the way it looks, then I'll go ahead and click the bottom right hand button that says weld. Once you have the name welded together and everything is to your liking, you're going to go ahead and size it back down so that it can go underneath the last name. And there's no right or wrong onto how big you want the couple's name, as long as it fits underneath the last name. Now you're just going to select everything, and you can either drag and select like that, or I'm going to deselect real quick. You can use that button right there, select all, and it'll select it too, whichever way you'd like. I usually just drag and select everything. Go ahead and hit align, center horizontally, and that'll just make sure that the name underneath, the John and Mary, is aligned horizontally with the last name. Now I'm just going to make sure that the sizing is where I want it. I have to make sure that the height of it is not going to go more than 5.5 inches. So right now the height is at 3.3, so I can make it a little larger and not have to worry about anything. And then the length, I want to keep it under 12 inches. So I'm going to just make sure that my height is proportionate. Now that you have John and Mary centered underneath Smith, you're going to go ahead and just select everything and go to that bottom right hand side and hit weld so that everything's welded together and that cuts as one piece. Our next step is to do the heart with the date. So you're going to start with going over to the left hand side and clicking on the Shapes tab. Once you click on that, it's going to open up a little window of different shapes, and you're going to select the heart shape. Go ahead and open another text box and type in the date that you're going to want inside of the heart. This is optional, so if you don't want to put a date in and you just want the heart itself, go ahead and just size it down and you can center in underneath the names. But for this purpose, I'm putting a date because it's going to be a wedding gift. Now you're just going to size down the date, put it in the middle of the heart. If you want to be sure that it's aligned correctly, go ahead and select all for the heart and the date, and then go to the top and hit center horizontally. Once you do that, it'll align the date proportionately inside of the heart. We're going to slice the date out of the heart. So what you're going to do is you're going to select the heart and the date, and you're going to go over to the right hand corner and you're going to select the slice option. And once you do that, you'll notice that the date in black will be sliced out of it once you move the gray part of the heart. So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm just moving that so that you can see that the numbers of the date have been sliced out, and then I'm just going to get rid of the extra date on the side. Now that everything's been sliced out of the heart, go ahead and size it down and place it underneath the names. And I don't have it sized a specific way, I just sized it down to what I thought would look right underneath that name. And then I go ahead and make sure that I align it horizontally again. Go ahead and hit weld once you've selected everything, and that'll make it all one piece. So whenever you hit make it, it's gonna slice all of this, or not slice, but cut all of this out in one big piece. I'm just going to change this to white so you can see what it looks like, and I'm actually cutting it out in white vinyl, so I like to see what it looks like before I go to the make it screen. If you want to go ahead and go straight to the make it screen, that's fine. What I'm going to do is select it and drag it out a little bit just to make it a little bit larger so it fits to the wood plank a little more proportionately. Again, I want to make sure that I don't go past the dimensions that I mentioned earlier, which is the height being 5.5 and the length of the sign being 12 inches. So I'm well within that limit. I think it's right at 5 inches and a few centimeters, and then the length is under 12. Now that was just an example. This is the one that I'm actually going to cut for my project. They do have laurels on each side. That's optional, not necessary. It is an image that I cleaned up myself, so it's not one that you'll find in Design Space. Now you're ready to actually make it and have your machine cut out the design. Once your design is completely cut, you can go ahead and start weeding it. This takes a little bit time. It's just something you have to be patient with. There's people who love to weed the designs and there's people who don't. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with it, but I always have my scissors nearby, and that kind of helps me with trimming away excess while I'm weeding. Now you're just going to go ahead and get your plank ready to apply. The back of it has jute rope already stapled, which is really nice because it's already ready to hang. And the front of the plank is really textured, which is what I really like about these planks from the craft section. Go ahead and grab your decal once it's already been adhered to your contact paper or transfer tape, and be careful with it, but just pick it up and go ahead and position it how you'd like to on top of the wood plank. Now that I have everything positioned the way I want it to, I'm going to take my scraper tool or my squeegee, whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to burnish this to the wood as best as I can. As you can see right here, I've already taken off some of the contact paper, and I just kind of go slow and cut it in pieces because this wood plank does have ridges in the wood. It's very textured, so you just really want to make sure that you're burnishing the vinyl onto it really well before you start removing the contact paper. And so you want to pull at an angle. You don't want to pull like pull it up. You want to kind of go at an angle and slowly just pull away at it. Just like so. Okay? Okay, so if this happens to you when you're pulling up your vinyl, I'm going to show you something real quick. You see how that part of the end is peeling up? That's okay. Just means it hasn't been burnished enough. I'm going to show you. You just really want to pull towards you when you're burnishing or away, but don't do this. You want to kind of and then kind of do that. And then when you pull away from it, you should do better that way. So it just means that it wasn't, burnished all the way. So this is the finished sign, all done. And yes, it is minus the heart, but if you can tell, you see how you can see the ridges through the vinyl? That's what you want to see, because that means it's really adhered to the surface. Okay, so you really want to make sure that you see those things, because if not, it'll slowly pull up. So now your wooden sign is ready to go. It can be a great gift for somebody else or one that you can make for yourself. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comment section below. Thank you.